Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hoping that everyone is having a blessed day. This is like my very first time ever doing this, so just bear with me if I don't really sound like I'm confident or like I'm kind of nervous because I guess this is like a learning thing. I'm trying to learn how to do this. But anyways, today I just wanted to talk about like how it is living at home, and I just want to preface this conversation by saying that there is absolutely nothing wrong with living at home, especially in this economy where it's like, okay, some people have to do that in order to get by. And honestly, in this case, if you have to live at home, then do live at home. But I just want to talk about how living at home isn't always the best thing for certain people. In my case, it hasn't been the greatest thing, simply because of the fact that I've been on both sides where I had my own apartment, and now I'm living back home with family, and it's just an eye opener where it's like there's a reason why I moved out in the first place, and in this economy, sometimes living with your family is feasible, and sometimes it's just not because if you're someone who comes from a good family and you don't feel like you're in a rush to move out, then yeah, you might as well stay home. But in my case, I don't want to say that I come from a good family. I don't want to say I don't come from a good family, but I'm not gonna sit here and say that living at home hasn't affected my mental health to the extreme. You know what I mean? Especially like when it comes to like I come from like foreign parents, and like their customs is like you don't move out until you get married, right? And to an extent I kind of understand it as well, but I think the problem with that is that you know sometimes people want different things out of life, and like not everybody wants to like stay home and like help, not, I wouldn't say help out, but people don't want to just stay home and like not want to be with a bunch of people, even if it is economically feasible. But when it comes to the mental strain that it takes on you, especially like in my experience where like I had to like give up my room like 3 times in the last 5 years, because when it comes to like foreign cultures, a lot of them they live at home, or like they would have family move in with you, and like you will have to like share a room. And honestly, it's not great. It's not a great thing at all, because of the fact that I'm being at home now, I have to share a room with other people. And at first you think that it's a great thing, but at the same time, now you're subject to like these multiple personalities, these bad habits that these people have, and like sometimes you don't want to say anything because you don't want to ruffle some feathers, but deep down you do want to say something because of the fact that it's honestly just it just claws at you. You think that it doesn't want, you don't want it to let you bother you, but it just does. And you know, I know some people who live at home where like because they have no choice, they probably understand what I'm saying. It's just this feeling where like it just claws at you, where it's like you try not to be bothered by it, but for some reason you just can't let it shake. But even at the same time, it's like you don't say nothing because of probably past experiences where like you'd probably tell a relative or your family member where it's like, hey, this is bothering me, but like they would just probably just disregard it. And coming from like foreign parents, like mental health isn't like something that's like at the forefront in their head. Like in most people's heads, like their blueprint is like you do this, you do this, you do this, and like you'll be successful. But what about the people who don't want that, or people who see like a different light and they just want to just not do that and just not want to follow the herd? And honestly, like I had this realization that like living at home is just not great because of the fact that I'm subjected to all these things that I have no say so in. And not only that, it also feels like my parents don't seem to understand like what I'm going through mentally. And even if I did try to tell them, they probably wouldn't understand. Like they'll probably just disregard it. And it's a very lonely experience, man, because you would think that the people who you would expect to have your back always, and like I'm not gonna say that they don't have my back when it comes to it, but you would think that the people who like you would probably hold near and dear, like you hope that they do the same thing for you. You would think that they'll be like sensitive to like what's going on in your life, but you know, the experiences that I have where like I just been disregarded, and like I guess my mental hasn't been taken seriously, or like no one really cared what I had to say. You know, it does take a toll on you, because and like eventually you just like close off, and you feel yourself getting to like this depression, and like I can definitely feel it to the point where it's like I get honestly irritated when it's like people ask me certain questions, like people just do certain things where it's just like, dude, just leave me alone. I just want to be alone for 1 second. There's the biggest thing is like there's no privacy. There's no privacy when like you're living with family. And like that's like the biggest issue with when it comes to me, because when I was living on my own, I woke up to like peace and quiet and peace of mind. And you know, no matter how much you're paying in rent, and I live in a big city where like you will probably pay exorbitant amounts of rent, and I'm grateful for the fact that when it comes to my apartment, I didn't have to pay that much, but like it was still on the high end for someone who was like Gen Z, young like me. Like I'm turning 24 this year, so you know I'm relatively young, and this is a pretty shit economy. So it's like, you know, I'm just trying to make way the best way that I can. But when I was living alone, I woke up to peace and quiet. I didn't wake up to anybody trying to ask me what I'm doing up so early, or like, what are you doing this at 5 o'clock in the morning, or like, why are you talking to someone at 5? Like, you know, you live on your own terms, and for me, that's like a big thing for me. Where it's like I hated when people told me what to do growing up, and for a while it just bothered me. And it's like now that I moved back home, it's like I have to like kiss someone else's ass, or like I gotta eat shit sandwich. And you know, this is what I signed up for, and like I'm not complaining about it too much, but I'm not gonna sit here and act like it's just not dawning on me to the point where it's like I just get super irritated when like someone invades my space, or like I can't just get away for like an hour or like 20 seconds because someone's always constantly, you know, like small things like shutting off the AC. I have like lights in my room, like they constantly shut it off, or like it's winter time and you know, why is the window open at 1 o'clock in the morning when it's 25 degrees outside? You know, small things like that like, you know, living alone, like you start to take for granted, because like, you know, when you live with somebody, you gotta be subject to like their stuff, and vice versa. They probably don't like the stuff that you're doing. That's pretty, honestly, that's fair. But I think the biggest problem is just that there's no way to have this conversation with like family about how you're feeling, because it's like it's their way or the highway. And honestly, I think that's really damaging and damning, because of the fact that, you know, your kids are people too, right? And for a lot of parents, you know, they try their best, but I think that they just don't understand the strife that a lot of young people are facing right now, especially when it comes to like the lockdown. And like, it's crazy because lockdown was literally 6 years ago. This year is about to make 6 years since COVID happened, and it's just like now, like the ripple effects are still there even to this day. Inflation's at an all-time high. People aren't seeing each other anymore because everything is so freaking expensive, and that just trickles down to like just trying to survive, man. Honestly, I could just say that I'm someone who's just trying to survive out here, and it's tough, man. It's tough because, you know, you want this thing, but you can't have it right now because of the circumstances. And eventually, I'm gonna move out again, but now is not the time to, because I'm trying to rebuild my life because of poor decisions that I've made. And I'm turning 24 this year. I'm 23 right now, and I could say that I've made a lot of bad decisions being in my 20s right now. And I'm hoping that I can, well, I don't want to say I'm hoping, I will be better, because I'm gonna put in the work. And right now I'm just hitting a rough patch, man. It's just like, it's very hard, and like I try not to stress out about it, but like it's just there. And I don't feel this way when like I'm not in the house, because like when I'm at work or like when I'm hanging out with my friends, like doing what I'm doing or whatever, it's, it's not in the back of my head where it's like, oh, like I don't like being here. But I am grateful to have a place to stay, like a roof over my head. But I want more for myself. You know what I mean? It's like I want to live life on my own terms. And this economy makes it really hard to do that for yourself, especially when it comes to like, like I live in a big city. A one bedroom apartment is probably like what, $2,000 to $2,500 a month. And good luck trying to find a studio, because you're not finding anything under $1,500 or $1,600 at this point, because everything is just through the roof. These greedy freaking landlords, they just want your coin, and then trying to work 2 to 3 jobs trying to make ends meet. And it is what it is, man. You just gotta figure out like what it is that you gotta do. I know exactly what it is I'm gonna do, and I just have to endure this as much as I can, despite how bad it is gonna be. I gotta deal with like constantly trying to race to the shower early in the morning when I'm going to work, or constantly sharing a room with like other people, like getting subject to what they're doing. A bunch of unwanted questions, a bunch of just a bunch of crap that I didn't have to deal with when I was living alone. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's something that I just, there's, like I said, there's nothing wrong with living by yourself. There's nothing wrong with living alone, and there's nothing wrong with living with family. But I think depending on the person's circumstances, you just gotta figure out what's better for you. I know people who come from great families and like they live alone because that's what they wanted. And I know people that come from great families, they live at home because they just don't want to move out, right? And on the flip side, I completely understand like why people get their own spot, or like get their own place, because it's different when like everything falls on you. You have your own place to go to. You're at peace, you set it up in your own way, versus like you have your mom arguing with your dad at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon for no good reason, or like your brother's doing something that's annoying you like after you get off of work, and you're just like, fuck man, like what, like why like you can't do this somewhere else. But they probably feel the same way as I do, or the same way as you do, depending on what your situation is. But you do what you can. You do what you can. And I would say this, I'm using living at home as an opportunity to like rebuild my life. And these opportunities don't always come twice. And I'm grateful for like what I have right now. It's a new year, it's 2026. I'm not in a hospital, I'm not dead, I'm not stressed out. I have an okay job for like someone who's young. So life isn't so bad. It's just like this rough patch where it's like, I have to just endure as much as I can until I can't take it. And honestly, I guess so long as I remember the goal that I set for myself, I'd probably have nothing to worry about. I just have to find ways to like maneuver around this shitty situation the best way that I can. But, eventually it's nothing lasts forever. This is only temporary. So, I treat it as such, and like when it's time to move on, it's time to move on. But that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for listening to my rants. I guess it's considered a rant because I kind of went off topic. It was supposed to be about like the cons of living at home, but this is like my first time doing this, so I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys can resonate this, and also leave a comment down below. Like, share your experience living at home, or like if you live alone, share your experience living alone. Health, wealth, love, and happiness. We're all gonna make it. Don't give up, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. See you next time.